Good morning. Can you hear me?
Morning, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, we're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Tavontre Tremone James. Counsel appearance.
Good morning, Your Honor. John Abbott with the Public Defender's Office representing Mr. James this morning for arraignment.
Okay, and you are Tavontre James.
Yes, I am.
Okay, Mr. James, today's the date and time set for an arraignment. I do have here a felony complaint that alleges that on or about December 17, 2022, at the area of 3600 West Miller Road, Apartment A, that's located in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly, contrary to law, commit the act in count 1 of assault with intent to do great bodily harm, less than murder, or by strangulation. It alleges that you did make an assault upon a Taylor Simmons by strangulation or suffocation, and that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.84. This is a felony. The maximum penalty is 10 years in prison and or $5,000 in fines. Your DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and there is a consecutive sentence that may be imposed if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's a count 2 of domestic violence. It alleges that you did make an assault or an assault and battery upon a Taylor Simmons, who is an individual with whom you have a child in common, or a resident or former resident of your household, or an individual with whom you have a dating relationship, and that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.812. Restitution may be ordered, as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property, or it may have resulted in physical injury or death to another individual under MCL 780.811A. That's a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. Again, a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. You understand the charge, sir, and the maximum penalty associated with those charges?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you have the right to be represented by counsel. Mr. Abbott is here today from the Office of the Public Defender, and he is here only for the purpose of your arraignment today. But you have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution, and you have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you cannot afford to hire your own attorney, you can make a request to have court-appointed counsel appointed to represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand that right, sir?
Yes, I do.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, he has, Your Honor, and we enter a plea of not guilty.
Court will enter your plea of not guilty. You have the following rights, sir. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty, or you can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. You have the right in this matter, because you are being charged with a felony, to proceed to a preliminary examination. You have the right to have preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date, 21 days of your arraignment, okay?
Okay.
At the time of preliminary examination, you have the right to have the prosecution meet their burden. So their burden at preliminary examination is to establish that there's sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed, and probable cause sufficient to charge you as a defendant who committed the crime. Do you understand those rights so far?
Yes, ma'am.
If this matter is to proceed beyond a preliminary examination, you have the right then to proceed to a trial. You have the right to have a jury trial. And at the time of trial, you have the right to be represented by counsel. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used to imply or prove that you're guilty. You have the right to the presumption of innocence because you are innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses the prosecution intends to call, and you have the right to call your own witnesses at trial or present any evidence you believe would further defenses to these charges. Do you have any questions about those rights?
No, ma'am.
You have the right to be considered for a pretrial release from custody, and we'll address your bond in just a moment. Let's see, are you currently employed, sir?
No, ma'am.
You said no?
No.
What's your home address?
1262 West Edgewood Boulevard, apartment 2.
Your phone number?
517-962-3974.
You're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan on December 29, 2022 at 2 p.m. You have a preliminary examination that's scheduled before Judge Buchanan that will be in person in the court. That's going to be on January 5th, 2023 at 8:30 in the morning. Did you get notice to appear as well as her Zoom instructions?
Yes.
Okay, your probable cause conference will be via Zoom. You can appear in person if you would like, but those Zoom instructions can be used for you to make a virtual appearance for your probable cause conference only, okay?
Okay.
Are you currently on probation or parole?
No, I am not.
You can address bond, Mr. Abbott.
Thank you, Your Honor. As he mentioned, he's currently not employed, although he does have strong ties to the community. He lives with family there on Edgewood, and as well, he has a child that lives here in the Lansing area. I think the risk of flight is low, Your Honor. As he mentioned, he's not on probation or parole. He tells me he has no history of failing to appear. I'd ask the court for a personal recognizance.
Okay, I've had an opportunity to review his prior criminal history. I don't see anything or any assaultive convictions. I'll grant the request for personal recognizance bond. Bond will be set in the amount of $2,500 personal recognizance. While out on bond, you have the following conditions, sir. You are not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol, drugs, unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to have any contact directly or indirectly with the alleged victim in this matter, Taylor Simmons. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not to be within 2,000 feet of wherever she lives, works, goes to school, food shops, does her laundry. No contact, and not to be within 2,000 feet. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. You're not to possess or purchase a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to be at the premises of 3600 West Miller Road, Apartment A. Do you have any questions about your bond conditions?
No, ma'am.
Need to make sure you report to all of your court dates. Any additional matters for the record at this time?
Your Honor, he informs me that he has a child in common with the alleged victim, and he's got questions about how to schedule parenting time and to affect that.
Yes, I do have questions.
You should address the family court for that.
Family court?
Yeah, I'm not addressing parenting time. I'm issuing a no contact order.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No problem. You're all set.
Ms. West.
On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Don Juan Lamont Kirk. Council appearance.
Good morning, Your Honor. John Abbott with the Public Defender's Office, representing Mr. Kirk this morning for arraignment.
Okay, you're Don Juan Kirk.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, today's the date and time set for an arraignment. I do have a felony complaint here. It alleges that on or about December 11, 2022 and December 17, 2022 at the area of 911 West Kavanaugh Road, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly commit the following acts. There's a count 1 of controlled substance delivery, manufacture of methamphetamine. It alleges that you did possess with the intent to deliver the controlled substance of methamphetamine, and that this was done contrary to Michigan Compile Law 333.74012BI. That's a felony, and the maximum penalty is 20 years in prison and or $25,000 in fines. There's a count 2. It alleges that on or about December 11, 2022, excuse me, that you did allegedly commit the act of assault with intent to do great bodily harm, less than murder, or by strangulation. It alleges that you did make an assault upon a Tamara Ivy by strangulation or suffocation, that this was done contrary to Michigan Compile Law 750.84. And this is a felony. The maximum penalty is 10 years in prison or $5,000 in fines. Your DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's a count 3 of assault with a dangerous weapon, also known as felonious assault. The allegation is that you made an assault upon a Tamara Ivy with a dangerous weapon, that being a metal pipe, but without intending to commit the crime of murder or to inflict great bodily harm less than the crime of murder, and that this was done contrary to Michigan Compile Law 750.82. That's a felony. The maximum penalty is 4 years and or $2,000 in fines. Again, your DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's a habitual offender notice. It says third offense notice. It says take notice that the defendant was twice previously convicted of a felony or attempt to commit a felony, and that on or about March 12, 2003, he was convicted of the offense of assault with intent to rob while unarmed in violation of Michigan Compile Law 750.88 in the 30th Circuit for Ingham County, State of Michigan. And that on or about February 14, 2001, he was convicted of the offense of controlled substance delivery, manufacturing of cocaine or heroin or other narcotic less than 50 grams in violation of MCL 333.74012A4, also in the 30th Circuit Court for Ingham County, State of Michigan. And therefore, defendant is subject to penalties provided by Michigan Compile Law 769.11 that enhances the penalty to twice the maximum sentence on the primary offense or a lesser term. The maximum penalty cannot be less than the maximum term for the first conviction. Do you understand each of the charges and the maximum penalty associated with each charge, sir?
Yes.
Okay. You have the right to be represented by counsel. Mr. Abbott is representing you today for the purposes of your arraignment only. You have the right to have an attorney with you at each stage of the criminal prosecution, and you have the right to have counsel represent you if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you cannot afford to hire your own attorney, sir, you can make a request to have court-appointed counsel appointed to represent you at the expense of the public, okay?
Okay.
Do you have any questions about your right to counsel?
No.
Okay, is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
He is, Your Honor, and will enter a plea of not guilty.
Enter your plea of not guilty at this time. Okay, Mr. Kirk, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything that you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right in this matter to proceed to a preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date. At the time of your preliminary examination, you have the right to have the prosecution meet their burden, which is to establish that there's sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you as a defendant who committed the crime. If this matter proceeds beyond preliminary examination, you have the right to have a trial, and you have the right to a jury trial. At the time of jury trial, you have the right to the presumption of innocence because you're innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence at trial that you believe would further defense to these charges. And you have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charges being brought against you. They have to prove each element at trial beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you have any questions at this time about your rights?
No, ma'am.
You're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before Judge Cynthia Ward. It's scheduled for December 29, 2022 at 1 p.m. That can be held via Zoom, or you can appear in person at the court. There is a preliminary examination that's going to be in person at the court that's currently scheduled on January 5th, 2023. That's at 8 o'clock in the morning, also before Judge Ward. Did you get a copy of your notice to appear for those dates and Zoom instructions? Did you get a copy of your notice to appear in Zoom instructions?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And do you have any questions at this time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you have the right to be considered for pretrial release from custody. We're going to address your bond at the end of this hearing. Are you currently on probation or parole?
No, ma'am.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Are you employed?
Yes.
Are you currently on bond?
Yes.
Okay, before which court?
This one, I think.
Okay. And you said you were employed?
Yes.
Where are you employed?
WPI, we was laid off and they bring us back. We worked till January.
What's your home address?
3532 Davidson Drive, apartment 10.
Phone number?
517-619-7259.
725 what?
59.
Thank you. What are you on bond for? What's the charge?
The charge was, transporting a concealed weapon.
Okay, it's currently before the 30th Circuit Court.
Yes,
Oh,
I never missed no court or nothing.
you can address Mr. Abbott.
Thank you, Your Honor. As noted, he's maintaining a stable address here in the community. He's been working full-time. He has 2 children as well that are here in the Lansing area. So I think the risk of his flight is a low one. He's been honest with the court about his bond status, Your Honor. There's allegations of assaultive behavior here. However, Your Honor, I think the community can be protected if he's given a low cash bond. Thank you.
Okay. I've had an opportunity to review his prior criminal history, as well as the recommendation of prosecution. There is an extensive criminal history here. This criminal history includes other assaultive or serious assaultive crimes. He's currently out on bond for a serious matter, which is before Judge Aquilina. I don't know if there will be a hold issued. I'm inclined to believe that there may be one. However, based on the allegations in this incident, which we have one felony that's maximum penalty 20 years and or 25,000, and we have another one with just 10 years is the maximum penalty, or 5,000. And a habitual offender third offense notice, enhancing those. These are some serious crimes, I believe, based on the allegations, those of which are assaultive in nature. There is a risk to the public safety as well as to the victim in this particular case. And so a bond will be set in the amount of $150,000 cash surety with GPS tether and victim notification.
So how much?
$150,000 cash surety. While out on bond, you have the following conditions. You're not to have contact directly or indirectly with the Tamara Ivy. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever she lives, works, goes to school. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to harass, intimidate, beat, molest, wound, stalk, threaten, or engage in conduct that would place any of the following persons or children of the following persons in reasonable fear of bodily injury. That is the spouse, former spouse, individual with whom you have a child in common, resident or former resident of your household. All right. Again, you're not to assault, harass, intimidate, beat, molest, wound, or threaten Tamara Ivy. You're not to cause anyone or third party to have contact directly or indirectly with Tamara Ivy. Do you have any questions about what direct or indirect communication means? Because that would also include making attempts to contact via jail. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So no contact of any kind through any mechanism is allowed between you and Tamara Ivy. Is that understood, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
You need to make sure you appear to all of your future court dates. You're not to possess any alcohol or drugs without a prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of this court. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. You'll be reporting to them weekly, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any additional matters for the record today, counsel?
No, thank you.
Okay, you're all set, Mr. Kirk.
This one, sir.
That's all I have. Thank you.